Okay, here we are in part two, and that was perfect. It was 9 minutes and 48 seconds. I was running out of time on the first video. But we're at a point where we're talking about home-managed, home-based business opportunities, home franchises, as we also call it. Virtual franchise is another way to put it. And what makes that different than a type of franchise that's purchased out in the marketplace like Starbucks or Popeyes or McDonald's? What makes it different? Well, when you think about McDonald's, for example, there are people who purchase a franchise through McDonald's that may say spend $100,000, for example, to purchase a franchise. And then, of course, they've got to find a location. Maybe the company will help them find a location. And then they have the rent considerations. Now, there's a McDonald's in my neighborhood here in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, that I can just imagine what the rent is. It's on 86th Street between 4th and 5th Avenues in the Bay Ridge area. And the rent must be phenomenal. So not only does he have the franchise money that he had to put out, he had to now pay the rent every month. Well, let's say, for example, it's for $8,000 to $13,000, which is probably what it is, somewhere around there. Can you imagine? And then you have the employees. You got to pay money for all the employees. Right? Then you have the headache with the employees. You know, who's not showing up? Who's not doing their job right? You know, who's stealing? So that you have that headache to deal with. And then you've got high taxes for business. Okay? And you have all the other bills, electrical bills. You got to pay the water bills, supplies that you got to purchase, the chemicals to clean. You got to purchase the money. You got to purchase the goods for the food. You know, and so we all call that overhead. Now, how many years is it going to take for that poor business owner to make not only the $100,000 back that he put into it, but to start really making a profit? It's going to be quite a while. And the difference between what he does and what I do is that I have low overhead, I have very little rent to pay, I don't have any employees, so I don't have to worry about all the other stuff that comes with employees, I don't have a high tax bracket, I don't have a high electric bill, I don't have to buy a lot of supplies. So you can see the benefit right there. You know, as long as income is being created and you're making a significant income, or whether you're making not so significant income with what we're offering, it all depends on your efforts. The key to this is doing the same consistent activities every single day, either on a small scale or a large scale, to create the type of income that you're looking for. And the beautiful thing about what we offer is that you can do the same activities again and again and again and again in a cycle. The same type of activities will produce predictable results with our company. And if you're teachable, if you're coachable, you don't have to be a high pressure salesman. We're not looking to make you a snake oil salesman. You know, you're just trying to sell something to somebody. We have proprietary Go Green, healthy living technologies. And in a world that is going Go Green, it's like a marriage. I mean, we've got the world class of each particular type of product to fit the marketplace. We have filterless air purification technologies. We've got water purification technologies that, for example, are used and recommended by doctors in Japan. We have something called Laundry Pure, which is going to revolutionize the way laundry is done. It is actually a unit that fits into the back of a residential washing machine. And what this does, it eliminates the need for hot water usage, so you can imagine the savings on hot water alone per year. It also eliminates the need for the use of detergents, of fabric softeners, and bleaches to do clothing. Now, people are scratching their heads, of course, understandably so, saying, how? Well, do you remember when the microwave oven first came out? People were asking, well, how can you cook with this thing, you know, with waves? But it has become a mainstay. So I'm going to just leave it there and get your interest up and your curiosity about this. So I mentioned the filterless air purification technologies. filterless in that, again, it requires no filters. And the process we use, it's an outgoing aggressive process. And what that means is, when you turn the unit on, it's the stuff that comes out from the box. It's what comes out from the box and goes out into the atmosphere that's the key to understanding how our systems work. You don't have to have all the technical understanding. But what I will say is that we take the processes that are duplicated, or created rather, by nature's way of the sun and lightning. We bring that same process indoors, created in a unit that you plug into the wall. It has a remote control. Or you can fit into an HVAC system, a heating, ventilating, and air conditioning system that targets the pollution, and is called an active aggressive approach to air purification, rather than a filter approach, which is called the passive approach. What's passive mean? Well, you see how I'm sitting here? Passively, just sitting. I'm not walking, I'm not aggressively moving, I'm passively sitting. When we talk about a filter approach to air purification, a filter can only take care of about 40% of the whole overall problem of indoor air pollution. And we're talking about just basically particles and dust, and trapping particles and dust. And the rest stays in the air. The odors will stay in the environment, as well as the germs and the viruses and the bacteria in the air and on surface levels. So you tell me how, not that a filter can't do some good, it does do some good. But the negative side effects of having a filter far, in my mind, outweighs the positive aspects of having a filter system in your home. You say, what do you mean? Well, when you have a filtration system and that fan is running, and whatever's trapped into that filter after a while, it starts to cake in there and gook and everything involved. After a while, the stuff that's trapped in the filter starts to blow right back out into the atmosphere. I don't have to say anything else other than that. And of course, how can a germ, virus, or bacteria jump off a toilet seat, for example, and go to the filter and have that kill it? Well, there's nothing in the filter that's going to kill the swine flu and MRSA and E. coli and salmonella and candida and black mold and avian influenza or SARS, or I think I said that, things of that nature. Certainly not going to get rid of dog odors or pet odors or urine odors, or let's say a dirty diaper hamper from a baby, or cigar smoke, cigarette smoke. None of these paint smells, polyurethane. None of these odors are going to be removed by filters. What our process does is threefold, actually fourfold, but we use three types of ways of purifying the air. First is what I will term as ionization. And what that does, it drops dust and smoke out of the air. You say, how? Well, you want this to be a science lesson, or you just want this to be an explanation about a home business opportunity? Okay, I'll tell you. The sun produces what we call negative and positive ionic charges. And so here is a negative charge out in the atmosphere and a positive charge out in the atmosphere. Now, dust and smoke is considered to be particulate. And so when the negative charge goes out and grabs on a dust particle, and then the positive ionic charge goes out and grabs on another dust particle, you know what happens with negative and positive. Negative and positive attract, and the dust becomes heavy and settles to surface level. Ah, said the Chinese man, genius. How genius is that? You have a dust problem in your home? Do you know anybody has a dust problem? Or a smoke-related issue? How about cigar bars and cigar lounges? What about hookah bars? How about factories that have paper dust problems? You can imagine how helpful our technology can be. And then you got the problem of odors. The word we use is neutralize. The process we use neutralizes odors. Anything except radon gas. We haven't found anything yet that will take care of that. But everything else, just about, we can handle. And everything I mentioned previously. Dog and cat smells, odors, pet odors, a dirty, smelly fish tank, you name it. Whatever smells bad, we can take care of in the air. and we neutralize those odors to the point where it smells like fresh, clean mountain air. But what about the problem of the microbiological contamination, like germs and viruses and bacteria? You know, I had some people I used to speak to on news groups on America Online that, you know, people would say, no, there's no way you can kill viruses. Germs and bacteria, yes, but you can't kill viruses. And I can understand their thought, but they don't understand our technology. We have 3 university studies that absolutely are conclusive that we can kill viruses, which includes the swine flu and MRSA, methicillin-resistant Staphylococcus aureus. Say that 5 times fast. If you remember MRSA, if you remember or MRSA and the swine flu scare, do you remember the news reports several years ago about people who were dying in hospitals and universities because of these related nosocomial infections and the scare about the swine flu killing people? We have university studies for our technology that actually shows within 2 to 24 hours all of these harmful agents, everything we test with our technology within 2 to 24 hours on the charts that Kansas State University and the University of Cincinnati, and I believe the University of Michigan, if my memory serves me right, shows that the inactivation of these harmful agents takes place within 2 to 24 hours. And as long as the process is still running, they don't come back. So can you imagine the implication for homes, for example, where a child is crawling around the carpet and the parents are concerned about the kids putting their hands in their mouth, or they were hanging out in the bathroom and they may be putting their hands in their face, you know, touching the toilet seat or whatever. There is an over 99% reduction of harmful microbiological contamination, not only in the air but on any surface level in a home, office, store, facility, commercial, residential, or industrial venue with our technology. And it's guaranteed. It's guaranteed. We also can do a laboratory test for you, which we use as a cotton swab to actually prove before and after effects of killing microbials on surface levels. I was able to do that with a facility in New York City, a dog and cat facility. You can see one of the checks that I put online to prove that money is made with this facility. Went through a process and the due diligence of calling them up and answering their questions, their concerns, and I knew that they had a problem with dog odors and animal-related diseases. Dog cough is a big issue with dogs that are, you know, kept in a babysitting, dog-sitting facility. The point is that after the process, they purchased 29 so far of our fresh air surrounds. And the only reason they purchased it is because I was able to go through the due process of answering their questions, fielding their questions, answering their concerns, being patient during the process, and I was able to make the sale. And what convinced them, they were convinced that the odors were taken care of. I was able to give a free evaluation. I brought in several units, set them up in several of their facilities, and they saw how it took care of the odor situation. But of course they were skeptical about the microbiological contamination. Well, how could they possibly know? Well, a cotton swab test was done where I went in with cotton swabs that I got from a laboratory in Florida. And on a door jamb, on the top, on one side of the door jamb, I just did a cotton swab swipe and put it into the vial, and did also what we call a sticky lift test to test for mold on a wall in their facility. We put the results, got the results back from the lab, and it showed the type of contamination that was on their surface level. It was in a professional laboratory report. Then I put the air purification technology in their facility and let it run for several days. Went in and did the same test again in that same localized area where the air purification system was running. Did the same test again on that same door jamb, but on the left side. And a sticky lift as well. When the test results came back, 99% reduction. That convinced the chief executive officer of these 6 facilities, and he purchased 29 units. So the point is, we have the world-class air purification technology that actually works. And we just don't sell a product. We actually demonstrate that our technology works. And that's the beautiful thing I love about our company. You don't find this with other types of air purification or filtration companies. You don't find this type of honest approach. Again, I'm not sure how many minutes we've got. I'm going to stop it here. We'll explain more about the product and the business opportunity. We'll see you on part 3.